greet you all in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Praise the Lord. My name is Rev Tom Otieno. By the grace of God, the vicar of the Anglican Church of Kenya, parish of St. Augustine in Madaraka, welcoming you very, very specially for this third installment on our series, More Than Conquerors. And today we focus on how to conquer famine. How to conquer famine. We want to talk about famine because, the kind of famine we are facing may not necessarily be the one of not having, sunshine or for agriculture. But there's a huge threat with this situation that people are really going to lack. And so what is famine? Famine is a situation of extreme scarcity of food. Is a situation of extreme scarcity of food. Now, famine happens when there is adverse weather. It happens when there is poor planning and the leadership hasn't planned well. It happens when there is extreme calamity, but famine also happens as punishment from God. It happens as punishment from God. Our reading today is from Genesis chapter 41. We're going to read verse 53 to 57. Genesis chapter 41, verse 53 to 57. Here's what it says. The 7 years of plenty that occurred in the land of Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began to come, as Joseph had said. And the famine was in all lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. When all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, "Go to Joseph. What he says to you, do." So when the famine had spread over all the land, Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold to Egyptians, for the famine was severe in the land of Egypt. Moreover, all the earth came to Egypt to Joseph to buy grain, because the famine was severe over all the earth. And so we see here a situation where, there's so much scarcity of food. There's no rain, there's no productivity. People are lacking. And, then when the scarcity comes, they are sent to Joseph. And Joseph opens the storehouses. And those storehouses now well up. They well up in, relief to the people. Relief to the people. Let's first describe our famine situation right now. Our famine situation is coming from the fact that people are not working. So there's very little money circulating. Payments have been held up because, priorities have changed. Business is not happening, so goods and services are not moving. So cash is not flowing. The ecosystem of cash has been severely interfered with, and the trickle down is not happening. And so there are people who look at their kitchens, they look at their fridges, those who have fridges, they look at their, their fireplace, their cooking pot, and their kneading trough, and there is nothing. There is nothing. There is scarcity of food. What do you do when you face situations like this? What is God's mitigation for famine? Number one, God preserved Egypt through Joseph. God preserved Egypt through Joseph. Now it's important for us to understand the economy that God put in place to preserve Egypt through Joseph. First thing that God did in preserving Egypt through Joseph is he gave Pharaoh a revelatory dream, a dream that carried the destiny of that nation. So he gave Pharaoh that dream. Now Pharaoh, of course, did not know the meaning of the dream. He only had the dream. And he was so persistent that even after all the magicians and sorcerers were unable to give a solution or to interpret that dream, he insisted that that dream must be interpreted, because in his deep heart of hearts he had a conviction that this dream was very significant and would impact his nation going forward. And so he insisted until they found somebody who had been long forgotten and buried in a prison, and that was Joseph. And he gets a referral from one of his servants, and Joseph is brought before Pharaoh, and Joseph is able to interpret the king's dreams. And he interpreted them accurately, and the king appointed him to the position. I want you to know that in times of famine, God usually has a remnant that carries the spirit of Joseph, people whom God has prepared in advance, people who have wisdom and a prophetic understanding of the times, and people who have the integrity. So they have been prepared by God and preserved by God. They have the wisdom and the prophetic understanding of the times, and they have integrity. This is the caliber of people that God uses to resolve issues like famine in a nation. So when Joseph had given the word, he interpreted that dream, but he also gave a solution to the problem, because the dream, the interpretation of it was there's going to be years of plenty, and then there's going to be years of famine. That was the interpretation of the dream. Period. There was no mitigation for the famine that was provided in that dream. And so the mitigation for the famine came from the Spirit of God that gave Joseph wisdom. And Joseph told Pharaoh, here is what Pharaoh needs to do. And Pharaoh needs to appoint a person, and he wasn't looking for a job, by the way. He was going to go back to prison, at least in his head. That's what it was. He just came to do a job and go back. And, who will build granaries and store the food in the years of plenty. And then in the years of scarcity, then those stores will be opened up and will be used. And so the first lesson is that God preserves the land through the righteous remnant. God preserves the land through the righteous remnant. This righteous remnant must have the caliber of Joseph. That is, they are prepared by God. Number two, they have the wisdom and prophetic understanding of the times. And number three, they have integrity. Because they are going to be in charge of a lot of resources that affect a lot of people. They need those three qualities. The second thing that we see in this passage is that whenever there is a famine or whenever there is a calamity, people cry to the king. Whenever there's a calamity, people cry to the king. And this is important because people look up to the king. But does the king always have solutions? No. The king doesn't always have solutions. But a king who is wise must know where to look for solutions of the people. Must know where to find it, where to find solutions. So this is advice to leaders, to not always assume that you know, but you must know where to find what you need at any one time. Because in leadership, God doesn't always provide everything in you, but He provides everything in you and around you, and especially around you, you will find people who have resources and who know what needs to be done. And I want to ask the leadership, whether you have asked yourself the questions beyond the scientific medical explanations for COVID, what should Kenya do? What should Kenya do? What I want to encourage leadership to include in that table more than medics. Medics are important, we respect them and we love them, and we'll always listen to them. But there are other people that inform the national discourse, because otherwise we will get caught up only thinking from one angle, which is medical, which is important, but which is not the only angle there is. The truth is, there are other angles that need to be considered. The third thing is that wise kings always direct people to God's righteous remnant. Wise kings always direct people to God's righteous remnant. I think because of the effects of this situation of COVID-19, there needs to be a broader engagement in the national discourse and broader measures. And we appreciate that government has already done a lot to mitigate in the affairs of its citizens to the best of its ability. But there is still space for engagement. And I want to say that we need a lot more righteous people brought to the table to inform national discourse, so that we have a holistic discussion about what is going on. Wise kings direct people to God's righteous remnant. When people came to Pharaoh and they cried to Pharaoh, Pharaoh directed them to Joseph. And remember, Joseph had seen this calamity and he had prepared for it. Now the difference here is that we had not seen, at least most people in leadership had not seen this calamity, and they had not seen it coming. Be that as it may, God revealed it to some prophets and some people, and they had seen it. But be that as it may, there are people who have the wisdom of God to know what to do in this hour. My challenge to leadership is to find those so that we can have a holistic discourse to deal with the famine that we now face, the economic famine that we now face and we stare at. Then fourthly, the righteous stand firm and they use the resources with integrity. The righteous stand firm and they use the resources with integrity. I cannot imagine what would have happened if Joseph was a corrupt official. The magnitude of disaster and calamity would have been phenomenal if Joseph had been a man who is corrupt. He would have directed the grain and some of the food to his own granaries, in addition to building government granaries and storehouses. He would have built some for himself in every province. And he would have made sure that he sells all those government things very, very fast. Then he's left with his, and then he hikes the price and makes himself rich. That was not Joseph. And so the righteous remnant must stand up at this moment, because there is still enough resource in this land to feed those that need to be fed. There's still enough resource in the world to feed those who need to be fed. What is needed right now, most importantly, is the wisdom of God. People who have the wisdom of God. The righteous must stand firm and use the resources with God's wisdom and with integrity. Number 5, the integrity of the righteous will save the world. The integrity and the wisdom of the righteous will save the world. This is the moment for the righteous remnant of the Lord to rise up and begin to speak oracles into this situation. Begin to bring it to judgment and begin to prosecute it before God and to command it to go where it came from. And also to help rebuild economies around the world with the wisdom of God. I am calling upon all righteous people whom God has prepared, preserved, and gifted, and skilled, and given the necessary education, and given a spirit of wisdom and understanding, that you will rise up and begin to speak. Don't be quiet. Don't keep to yourselves. Don't say God is not listening. Don't say government is not listening. Form caucuses, form associations, begin to come up with practical, pragmatic solutions, and speak into the famine that is hitting the world, the economic famine. We shall not lack, but we shall live in abundance. Well, let me now conclude by saying a couple of things. Firstly, even though we risk going into scarcity, that is not God's portion for us. God's portion is prosperity and abundance. That is where we are going to occupy. That's our position. Our position is that God's portion for us is abundance and prosperity. This is an interruption, and we must get over this interruption as fast as possible. Secondly, is that the righteous must stand up and speak into this situation. And the standing up means we need to organize ourselves. We need to find as many voices that hear God and have the wisdom of God, and caucus ourselves and begin to speak into situations. Thirdly, we must turn the tide of the effects of COVID-19. We must not allow it to go to its logical conclusion. We must reverse it so that it serves the purposes of God. We must reverse it, and so that it goes according to God's will, and that the ends will be God's ends, not the intended ends, to undermine our economy and to make the people hopeless. We will not be hopeless, and we will not be party to that which makes the people hopeless. Fourthly, we must invite God into this situation to perform a miracle. We are actually ready for a miracle. We are ripe for a miracle, but God needs instruments like you and I to speak wisdom into this situation. I'm calling upon godly economists. I'm calling upon godly planners. I'm calling upon those whom God has given skill in governance and have a spirit of excellence from God. I'm calling upon all of you to begin to caucus, to begin to write alternative policy papers and policy positions, and to speak it out loud so that everyone can know that there is an alternative, and a viable alternative that people can follow. This is the time for God's miracle. This is the time for God's voice. The economic famine must be brought to a halt. And it's time for God's prosperity, because we are ripe for a miracle. God will deliver us from evil. He will shield us from harm, and it will be well. I want to speak to you. I want to speak to your business. It will be well with your business. You may not see tomorrow, but the one that holds tomorrow says it will be well. God is the one that holds tomorrow, and He says it will be well. Tell the righteous it will be well with them. Yes, it will be well with them. And this is not wishful thinking. This is a statement of faith. May God help you to seize this moment and seize faith and act in faith, but also act in wisdom and understanding. Let me pray for you. Father, we thank you. Lord, we pray that you raise the righteous, that we shall begin to speak with wisdom and with understanding, and with intellectual depth concerning this situation, and that we will have a response, and that the world will not be the only one that is speaking about this situation. We will come up with alternatives. We will come up with places and positions where you have commanded, the things that you have commanded are the things that will prosper. We rebuke COVID-19 and all its economic effects in the name of Jesus. We bring it to judgment, and we decree and declare in the name of Jesus that only that which is godly will come to pass in the name of Jesus. That this pandemic will not destroy our economy and will not destroy the economy of the world. But that, Father, you will use this opportunity to prosper the economies of the world for the glory and honor of your name, and that you will be glorified even through this situation. I pray for those who are lacking, for those whose businesses have gone down, for those who are wondering where they're going to get money, even to eat, let alone to pay rent, to pay wages, to pay all their obligations. Those whose workers are desperate and crying out to them, and they don't know what to do anymore. I pray, Father, that you will provide for them. I pray that you will be gracious to them. I pray that you will lead them and guide them. And for those that have a little more, that, Father, you will soften their hearts to share with those who don't have. We thank you and we honor you. We rebuke this famine in the name of Jesus. We pray that you raise the Josephs of this moment to open the storehouses and to sell at fair prices and to mitigate this famine. We thank you and we honor you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you. Have a great day.